You know, when you think of the WWE, you think of this global entertainment machine. But the real story of how it was built, well, that's a whole different animal. It's a story about a business dynasty for sure, but it's also a deeply personal and often pretty painful family drama. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain and get into the secret origin of the WWE. Okay, let's just dive right in because this is where it gets wild. Look at these two people. On one side, you've got the billionaire icon, the ringmaster who built a worldwide empire, and on the other, a forgotten kid from a trailer park, a total unknown. And here's the crazy part. They're the exact same person. So that's the big question, right? How on earth does a childhood filled with poverty and trauma create the kind of brutal ambition it takes to build a monster like the WWE? That's what we're going to figure out. And to do it, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning to see how the McMahons first got their hooks into the wrestling business. So our story doesn't even start with Vince McMahon Jr. Nope, it starts with his grandfather, Jess McMahon. He's the guy who laid the foundation for everything that was to come. So Jess McMahon was the patriarch, right? Born in New York to Irish immigrants, he got his family's money together and jumped into the rough and tumble world of sports promotion. This is way back at the turn of the century. He started out in boxing, promoting absolute legends like Jock Johnson. Jess didn't waste any time making the McMahon name a big deal in New York. By 1925, he was the official matchmaker for Madison Square Garden. Now, think about that. That gave the family a stranglehold on the most famous arena in the world. And that arena would become the heart and soul of their empire for decades. So when Jess passed away in 1954, the family business went to his son, Vincent James McMahon. Now, wrestling fans, you know him as Vince McMahon Sr., and he's the guy who is about to take the family business to a whole other level. Vince Sr. was a sharp operator, man. The family sent him down to Washington, D.C. to run their territory there, and he immediately started making moves. He locked down exclusive rights to promote wrestling in the city, got his shows on TV, and launched his own company, the Capitol Wrestling Corporation. Okay, so you gotta understand how wrestling worked back then. It was broken up into all these territories, kind of like little kingdoms, and each promoter controlled their own patch. Most of them just used TV as a way to sell tickets for their local shows. But Vince Sr., he saw something way, way bigger. He saw television as the future, as the way to build a national empire. And this quote, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? While all the other old-school promoters were terrified that television was going to kill their business, Vince Sr. basically said, bring it on. He knew it was going to make him a rich man. And you know what? He was absolutely right. But while Vince Sr. is out there building his kingdom, there's this really dark family secret playing out behind the scenes. His own son, Vince Jr., was living in a completely different world, a world of poverty and total chaos. Get this, Vince Jr. didn't even grow up with the name McMahon. After his parents split, he was raised in North Carolina and didn't even know how to pronounce his own last name correctly. He and his brother used to say it McMahon. So he wasn't a McMahon, he was just Vinnie Lupton. And he grew up in a string of rundown homes, one of which was a trailer park they actually called Splinterville. I mean, the contrast between that and the life his dad was living in D.C. is just staggering. And Vinnie Lupton's childhood, well, it was marked by some serious trauma. He later said in an interview that his stepfather was abusive, and you have to imagine that this kind of experience would deeply, deeply shape the person he was about to become. But then, in 1957, everything changes. Vinnie's life is turned completely upside down. His biological father, Vince Sr., decides it's time to reconnect, and that one decision sets off a chain reaction that would change wrestling forever. 12. He was just 12 years old. In one moment, Vinnie Lupton, the kid from the trailer park, finally meets his dad. And just like that, he's thrown into this spectacular, over-the-top world of professional wrestling. And this is where the story gets just so complicated. Because to his other kids, his adopted kids, Vince Sr. was this warm, loving family man. But to his own biological son, Vince Jr., it was a totally different story. Vince Jr. would later say his dad never, not once, told him, "I love you." But here's the kicker. Despite all those years of neglect, Vince Jr. was completely starstruck. He fell in love with his father, with the power he had, with the whole spectacle of the business. He knew right then and there that he had to be a part of it. So, how do these two completely separate worlds, the powerful wrestling dynasty and this really traumatic childhood, smash together to create the WWE we all know today? Well, let's break down how the Ringmaster was truly born. When you really look at it, it's like the perfect storm was brewing. You had the promoter's DNA from his grandfather, Jess. You had the pioneering TV vision from his dad, Vince Sr. But the secret ingredient, the real game changer, it was that unrelenting grit, that ambition that was just hammered into him during his childhood. He was an outsider, desperate to prove himself, and that's exactly what made him so dangerous and so successful. And that really brings us right to the heart of it all. That famous WWE tagline, ruthless aggression. Turns out it wasn't just some marketing gimmick. It was a life philosophy, born a long, long way from any wrestling ring, in a trailer park called Splinterville. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just how much of the empire we see today was built on that pain.